Well, I'm 43 years of age and I've had it for 16 years, so I was 27 when I was first diagnosed with it. Okay, what happened when I was first diagnosed with diabetes? A friend of mine was killed in an accident and I started to rapidly lose weight. Not that I wasn't overweight, but I was rapidly losing weight and eating like a horse and getting really thirsty. I couldn't get enough fluid into me, and this all happened in a period of about 6 weeks. I went to the doctor on a Friday night after work. I got in there at 6 o'clock. He said, I think we'll do a urine sample. Can you give me a urine sample? And I'm, sure. So I gave him a urine sample and he did a little test in a litmus thing and said, yes, I think you've got diabetes. I might put you in for a few tests next week, and shunted me out the door and gave me a list of foods to eat over the weekend. So I did that, and on that list of foods it said eat lots of potatoes, drink soft drink. It was everything to get your sugar as high as you possibly can to do a glucose tolerance test, of which I knew nothing about. So over the weekend we got all these foods and I ate all these foods, gradually got worse. I couldn't even open a car door by Sunday. On Sunday night I went to bed feeling absolutely lousy. My husband had to leave at 4 o'clock on Monday morning to go to work because he was driving a truck at the time. And I'd arranged for a friend of mine to come and pick me up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go and get these blood tests done and have this glucose tolerance test. And she got to my place, I couldn't get out of bed, I couldn't talk, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't move. And so she rang the ambulance. I was still conscious, I could hear what was going on. And I could hear her having a heart attack, ringing an ambulance and giving the address and everything. Within no time the ambulance turned up and they were smelling my breath. And they said, oh yes, she's a diabetic. And I'm thinking, why can't I say anything? Why can't I respond? Of course I was in a coma. By the time they got me to the hospital, they had me on a drip and they did a reading, my sugar was 37. And I was in intensive care for 4 days. They got my sugar back to normal, got me out of intensive care and put me into the ward. Still didn't know what was going on, like, okay, I've got this diabetes thing. They'll get me right and send me home. Because then by the 7th day they had a dietitian come around and then they had a person from Diabetes Australia come and see me and said, this is what you're going to have to do, you'll have to be on insulin. And of course then I lost the plot. So this was my education on finding out that I had diabetes. So I get sent home with all this stuff and I had to find out that I had to give myself needles twice a day at that stage. So I was pretty devastated and not knowing what to do. There's no way I was going to go back to that doctor again because he nearly killed me because the people in the hospital said, or the doctor that I got in hospital said, asked me questions about what happened, and I told him on the Friday night I went to the doctors. He said as soon as he saw that the ketones were high in my urine, he should have admitted me to hospital straight away, but he let me go home over the weekend and I could have died. But anyway, that's basically what happened. Well, it was for nearly 2 years. I went through several doctors. I was writing down readings every day. I was changing doses, trying to balance this whole thing out, not knowing where I was going. I had no idea what I was doing. Each doctor I went to had no idea what I was doing until I found the current doctor that I've got now, and she eventually said, I think you need to see an endocrinologist. And of course, that's what happened. I went to see you and that's when you set me straight. You put me on set doses, you set me on a program. My sugars came into control. I was getting far better readings, and you set me straight. You knew where I would put me in a direction where I knew where I was heading. Diabetes Australia. Then, when I became a member, I started reading all the magazines, and then it just became easy. Absolutely, you read all the articles and you think, oh, that's what's happening to me. And you find out all these things that are happening to you that are happening to other people as well. And yeah, it was the best tool I could use because I used that, and I still read it now. And you read articles and you think, Oh yeah, know that one. I might pick up something new, but of course now, after having it for 16 years, I don't think there is anything new except for technology with new insulins. And yeah, moving on to new insulins with better control is probably the only way of new things that I can find out, but yeah. Okay, first and foremost is your own body tells you whether things are going wrong or not. And talk to people that have diabetes, because you can learn from their mistakes not to make those mistakes. Diabetes Australia magazine, I think, is an excellent tool. Read it from cover to cover. Your endocrinologist is your best person that can tell you, you know, the high readings and things like that, then what they can do to your body. All I see, the way diabetes is you're controlling it manually. A normal person that doesn't have diabetes, their body automatically produces the insulin. All you're doing is putting it in manually. And that's the only difference between you and a person that doesn't have diabetes. And so, gee, how can I explain that better? The best tools to use, I think, all come back to reading your own body's signs and judging yourself and hopefully making the right decisions. Okay, so what I've done in the lifestyle management changes to suit having diabetes, I've incorporated an exercise program. The timing in having my meals is important, and a lot of people that don't have diabetes don't understand that, and you get really ticked off sometimes when you think, oh please, you go to someone's place for dinner and they don't eat till 9 o'clock at night, and you're like, you know, you don't want to say anything, but yeah. So the timing of meals is really important. Educating your friends is really important, and educating your friends to know that if you've got to eat, you've got to eat, and you know, and your workmates. And your workmates have to know that you've got diabetes, because if they don't know and they see you disappear out the back suddenly to go and get something to eat, it's not because you're having a slack attack and you don't want to pull your weight at work. It's because you need to eat. And you know, and sometimes you need to eat something just to keep you going. Sometimes you need to eat something solid to keep you going. And that's what, coming back to knowing your body and knowing how your body works and knowing what you need for your diabetes. So your lifestyle changes are important, but it can be done and can be managed quite normal, and you can lead quite a normal life. The exercise program that I've used to help me with my diabetes, I go to a personal trainer. And when I say I go to a personal trainer, I probably only go to her once a year now, because she's designed a program for me that suits me, but I use it flexibly for my problems that I have with my body of other things that have happened to me. I exercise on average 3 to 4 times a week. I've got my own gym in my garage, and it's set up with a bike, a treadmill, a rowing machine, and a step on the floor with some little weights and a fitball. And I start the program on the bike. I warm up, then I do my stretching exercises, which help my back with the problems with my back. Then I get on the treadmill. Then when I've finished the treadmill, I do my stretching exercises. Then I get on to the rowing machine. Then I get on to the step for 10 minutes, and then I finish off on the fitball and do my cool down stretching exercises. It takes about an hour, and I do that approximately 3 to 4 times a week. Okay, to start off with my fitness program, I was doing 20 minutes to 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, and then I built that up to what I'm doing now. And you'll find with your own personal levels, you've got to train your brain to push yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. You're there by yourself, and if you don't do it, well, no one else is going to do it. So, you know, what the heck, be lazy and fat or be healthy and live a good life is my motto. And I figure if I can push myself, okay, do 6 sit-ups on the fitball, okay, tomorrow when I get on the fitball, I'll do 8. and I'll try and make it, you know, by the end of the week I'll do 10. So you're always trying to strive that little bit better. Okay, so you have setbacks, you get sick, you get the flu, you can't exercise for a week. So you go back to what your original program was and you build it back up again. So yeah, you don't start off doing an hour at a time. You start off with 20 minutes or 30 minutes. You start off walking on the treadmill and you increase the height and bring the resistance up. I mean, everything's pretty logical and it's common sense stuff that, you know, you don't just keep chopping along doing the same stuff all the time. You always try and make it a little bit harder. Okay, before I had diabetes, I never even looked at a gym. I was always an active person anyway because I always went snow skiing, water skiing, horse riding, you know, competing. I was always active anyway. The fact that I've got diabetes now has changed quite a bit, only probably because I'm getting older and I don't go water skiing anymore. Circle of friends changes, you get married, things happen, you know. So snow skiing only happens in winter and, you know, you might only get to go to the snow once a year. Whereas before, in the work that I had, I was going to the snow, you know, nearly every weekend in the winter seasons, and my brother had a boat, so we'd go water skiing every weekend. So circumstances change, although I still horse ride. Horse riding, you know, it's a weather thing, you can't always get out and ride. So I find that because I have diabetes now, I can get in the gym all the time and I can do my exercises rain, hail or shine. So I find that if you can exercise and get your cardio up 3 times a week, and that's not a lot, like 3 times a week for 30 minutes even, in a gym or in your garage or wherever, I find that it just makes your sugar level controls so much better. And I find that it's not something that just works for that hour that you're in the gym, it works for 2 or 3 days. And it keeps your sugar down and I don't know what it is with your body, but you start moving and you start burning fat. And it doesn't just stop at that 1 hour of doing the exercise. It goes for quite a while. Okay, my motivation to keep my diabetes under control is that you only get one go at your body in life. And I figure riding horses, I need 2 arms and 2 legs, and I need to be able to see. I need to be able to see to drive my car and, you know, do all the things that I want to do. If I don't manage my diabetes and keep it in good control, those things aren't going to be there. And yeah, the scariness of not good control and then losing a limb or your eyesight going, I mean, is one of the worst things that could ever happen. So yeah, the scare tactics of making me keep good control has worked, and it's worked really well. Absolutely. My husband's stepdaughter, back in, I think it was either 93 or 94, it was about 3 or 4 years after I was diagnosed, she was diagnosed with diabetes. And because I was, you know, the underdog or the outcast of the family, so to speak, she didn't want to know me, she never wanted to know me. And I always tried to talk to her, you know, do you really think you should be eating that? Because I was the outcast, she didn't want to, you know, listen to me. What do you want to listen to her for? You know, you don't drink normal Coke. You should at least drink Diet Coke or try and drink water. You know, what are you eating pizza for? It's bad for you. You're going to kill yourself, you know. And she continued to live in denial for 10, 12 years, the fact that she had diabetes. And every time, because they live in Brisbane, every time we went up there, you know, she'd be having hyperglycemic attacks and be taken off to hospital and be put on a drip, and how many times she's been in hospital I'll never know. And I'm thinking, what is it with you? Why can't you get a good doctor that can give you a bit of education? If you're not going to listen to me, why don't you listen to somebody else? And she just lived in total denial, probably because she was really young at the time, I don't know. You know, she was only 17 when she was diagnosed with it, and she was grossly overweight. She just lived in denial for all these years. Well, now, as we speak, she's in hospital and they're stomach feeding her. So she's, you know, her legs, she's got no feeling in her legs. She's got ulcers on both feet now. She can't keep any food down. Her eyes are gone. She hasn't been able to drive for 6 months, and she's just a classic example. and such a sad case that she's lived in denial of having this. It's a condition that you can live with and you can control and you can keep on top of it, but she refused to know about it. So this is the result, which is really sad. But what can you do? Okay, if people that are newly diagnosed with diabetes, I would say open your eyes, open your ears, listen to what the specialists and the people that have had it for a while are talking about. Take it on board and do your best to try and manage it as best you can, because you only get one go at life, and if you stuff it up, you don't get a second chance. Well, a lot of that is trial and error, but I think it all comes back like eating the right foods and the effects they have on your sugar readings. The only way you can find that out is to do regular readings, and by regular I mean 4 to 6 times a day, and that is the only way that I keep really good control. Doing regular tests helps you realise your ebbs and flows, like your highs and your lows, like 2 hours after a meal or just before a meal when you do at fasting level. If you see how low you are at fasting level, if you're on the right doses of insulin, or if you're not eating enough, or you're losing weight and you need to eat more, or that's where all the balance comes into it. And to do readings regularly will help keep that good balance. Okay, a lot of that, like working out what foods are right and what foods you can't eat, is a lot of it's trial and error, but by doing readings regularly will help with that. And by saying regularly, 4 to 6 times a day minimum, is the only way that you can keep good control. And say, for instance, you take your readings at fasting level to see what you are at your lowest point, and then maybe say 2 hours after a meal to see what your highest point is. I quite often do it at work after lunch at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I quite often do a test to make sure that I'm not going to run out before I go home in the afternoon. So that's just an instance of why I do it. But yeah, regular readings are really important. To get to that pattern of testing was education from Diabetes Australia, education from my endocrinologist, and starting off doing readings before meals and after meals was regimented, and I used to keep it in a book, and you used to see the flow of pattern of how things went. You think, oh, why did I have a high reading there? Maybe it was because I ate too much potato, or something like that. But everybody's different, so it's all going to react in a different way. So yeah, a lot of it did come from my endocrinologist and from the Diabetes Australia magazine. That's the end result of all the good management and the lifestyle change to good control of diabetes, is that result at the end, which means so much to me because I'm healthy on the inside as well as being on the outside, and that's what it's all about. Okay, it's the results of all the tests that I have, every 12 months or 2 years. I've had no cardio problems, my eyes are excellent, no nerve problem in my feet, everything is healthy, no kidney problems, everything that I've got so far is still healthy, so let's hope it stays that way.